You know, we were here beginning with the welfare check. This smell changes.
Welcome back to the Law News Network, everybody. This is Jesse Weber. You were watching the testimony of Miguel Silva, a former patrol deputy in the Adam Matos case out of Pasco County, Florida. Now I want to talk a little bit about this testimony, not just his, but the testimony in general from the past few days and what we've seen. And I'm glad I'm not here to talk about it myself because I'm joined by a friendly face. Hello there, Miss Polisi.
Hi, Polisi.
Polisi.
Every time.
I keep getting it wrong?
I know. You keep getting it wrong.
Are you sure that's how you say it?
I'm sure.
All right,
I am sure.
You might be wrong.
Sure.
All right, let's talk a little bit about this case. And you're going to be subbing in for me. You're going to be now coming in as the host. So let's just talk a little bit about this case. We saw the testimony from a lot of family members. I was talking about Daniel Leonard. We saw the testimony from Linda Thomas, Jim Thomas. When you are presenting a case as a prosecutor, how important is that to establish the people that knew the victims, how well they knew also the defendant in this case, but how important is their testimony? Because there were certain details that were brought up, but there was a lot that wasn't brought up. And I thought I would see more about their understanding of the relationship between Adam Matos and Megan Brown, but I didn't see that. So what did you think of it?
Right. Well, we were all sort of scratching our heads as to why the prosecution didn't want to bring in the fact that Matos had been to visit one of the victims in this case, his ex-girlfriend, and sort of dragged her out of her place of work. Instead, they only brought it in to show that there was sort of a heated exchange. But I think in general, prosecutors like to get sort of tug at the heartstrings type of testimony from family members. So in this instance, I think, you know, in terms of the last time the witnesses made contact with the victims, things like that, it not only sets the stage for the timeline of events, or in this case, the prosecution showing that, you know, August 28th, that was the date that they believe that these murders occurred, but also showing that, you know, this was a family. This was a tight-knit family. They were wonderful people by all accounts. It sounds like they were just good people. So I think these witnesses went a long way.
So we had Russell Novak on, and he made he's a good defense attorney.
Yep.
So let me tell you, he's a great defense attorney, really saying that because you can't positively identify Mr. Matos as the shooter, as the one that attacked these four victims, you know, his fingerprints weren't on any weapons of any kind. There's no eyewitness seeing him commit this murder. He said it's still an uphill battle for the prosecution. We disagreed.
I wholeheartedly disagree.
Because how many times you have cases before where you don't have eyewitnesses seeing where a crime's committed, you don't have DNA.
Right.
But here it's so strong with with the other evidence.
I was going to say, in some cases, circumstantial evidence is just as powerful, just as compelling as direct evidence. I'm with Julie Rendelman, our LawNewz trial analyst, all the way on this one. This is one of the easiest cases I've seen for the prosecution that we've had on LawNewz Network. The behavior post-murder by Adam Matos is so blatant, so shocking, and so culpable, really, that you don't get more slam dunk evidence in my book than this. This, to me, it's just as compelling as if we had DNA evidence or we had an eyewitness. It just, who else did it? I mean, we haven't heard anything about this crazy stalker lady from Kansas either. So, I mean, there's nothing really.
Well, they tried to bring it in.
No, I know they did.
So the defense, and let's talk about that, because the defense tried to bring that in with Daniel Leonard.
Right.
So in their cross-examination, they said, do you know or have you ever heard the name Michelle Stinson? Now, we know, because we're following it here and we read articles about it, that she is the person that was allegedly stalking Nicholas Leonard, his son. The prosecution was able to get that out, said, your objection, that's outside the scope of this person's testimony, which was a fair objection.
Yeah.
We saw a flavor of it. I imagine they're going to bring that up later on.
Assuming they're going to, when they start presenting their case, yes, we have all assumed that this will be, because otherwise what else are they going to do? Again, Julie Rendelman, I thought, had a good idea too. Maybe the defense, doesn't know what it's doing at this point. Maybe they want to see what the prosecution's case is.
Well, that's horrifying, but okay.
It's absolutely horrifying. That's never a good plan. We all thought maybe they were being, you know, super genius in withholding their opening statement. Maybe they just really weren't prepared, which could be scary. Maybe they are going to try to mitigate. Maybe they're not going to you know, argue against the fact that he committed the crimes, but they're going to show that he was in some crazy mental state or something to get to, when you get to the sentencing phase here, because it is a death penalty case, something to sort of soften the hearts of the jury against this defendant. Because that's really all you can do at this point with this overwhelming evidence. I don't buy, even though we haven't seen the defense's case, I don't buy the stalker did it. I just, it seems too far-fetched to me. Like all of, when we've seen some of these, we saw that there was blunt force trauma here. These were crimes of passion. These clearly are crimes that are committed, were committed by a family member with very intense passion. So
hatred,
almost hatred. So I don't buy the defense, but who knows?
Well, it's interesting because we know that Nicholas Leonard sustained about 21 head wounds, 21 injuries, 21 blows to his head, and we're not even sure if those injuries happened after his death, which again shows that this is usually committed by somebody, or might be committed by somebody who knew him.
Exactly.
It's interesting you say that this third party, because one of the reasons the defense couldn't bring this up is because this is a name that comes out of left field. When we were covering the Aaron Hernandez case, and you kept talking about Alexander Bradley as being the one who was possibly the shooter, the reason you could keep bringing that up is because he was already involved in the events.
He was the star witness.
Star witness.
Yeah.
This woman, Michelle Stinson, we don't have has any connection into this. So, again, they might not go that route. What I imagined that they were going to do was keep attacking every witness and breaking down the prosecution's case. I'm not seeing that so much. Is the other option what Aaron Keller had said, and I spoke about this with Russell Novak, you mentioned a little bit this crime of passion.
Right.
That perhaps it wasn't a premeditated murder, perhaps it was something along where emotions were running high, they were getting into a fight, and we know about that 911 incident earlier in the day, and this just was a powder keg waiting to blow.
Right. Well, the 911 incident doesn't play well for an argument that it was a crime of passion, because the fact is he had the time and the ability after the fact to retreat, to stew, to think about things, to brood, and really to plan a quadruple murder. So, that doesn't bode well for them. But certainly, I think that the defense is going to want to put forth, because we all know that that's a sort of a lesser, not that he's not going to get convicted, but it could potentially save him from the death penalty, whereas the premeditation bumps you up in terms of aggravating factors, in terms of it being a more deplorable crime in the eyes of society. For whatever reason, we choose to punish people that plan murders more than people that merely act in the heat of passion. I mean, we could debate about whether or not that's a logical division, but it's nonetheless.
But what ultimately is going to hurt that case is the fact that he lived there. The fact that he was cool, calm, collected. Right afterwards was ordering
pizza. I mean, the ordering pizza
selling
gets
the
me every
goods,
time.
selling the dogs.
The dogs. I mean, flash sale. These dogs were like purebred. Apparently
selling
they
$50 a pop.
I know, and their retail price was $800. So, yes, these are the types of facts and pieces of evidence that are not good for this defendant, which is why I disagree with your prior guest, and I'm with sort of everybody else.
You have some special segments today, don't you?
I do. What
are you going to be covering?
Well, we're talking about the latest developments in the Harvey Weinstein case. Two new bombshells. There was a new New Yorker article by Ronan Farrow coming out alleging that Weinstein has actually used these private intelligence agencies, Kroll and Black Cube, to really silence his accusers. Pretty sinister and scary stuff.
Wow.
So we're going to be breaking all that down. Also, Cy Vance is expected to bring an indictment forth next week, present it to the grand jury, and maybe get this guy in handcuffs. I'm smiling because I'm I'm very happy.
It's important.
It's very satisfying. And then also, a lot going on in the Russia investigation.
What's that?
Yeah, I know. What is that? Michael Flynn and his son, Michael Flynn Jr. I love all of these. Donald Trump, he's got the Junior. Flynn's got the Junior.
Yeah.
And they all have great Twitter accounts too. So Flynn Jr. has been tweeting up a storm recently. Apparently, the heat is on. People are expecting Mueller's team to be homing in on Flynn and his son in an attempt to get Flynn Sr. to flip. So it's all very juicy. It's strong arm tactics. It's great stuff.
Are you ready to host? Are you ready to jump on the spot?
I'm so excited. I can't wait.
All right. Well, you do a great job. Those are great segments.
Thanks.
I can't wait to watch.
Thanks.
All right, everybody. I'm going to be signing off. But again, we are covering all these special segments, but we're also covering the Adam Matos case. So I want to continue showing you the testimony of Miguel Silva, this patrol deputy. And as soon as we will be having live coverage again on Monday. So again, thank you for letting me join you. Have a great weekend. And this is continuing testimony of the Adam Matos case.